Hey guys, as you know, it's been a wild 2 years that we've all had to go through. However, in my last year, I've been lucky enough to be able to do reporting for Rebel News. And in that time, over all of the craziness that's been going on, these are some of the moments that I remember most and left an impact on me. I hope to share them with you today. To start, we go to Montreal, where our very own Yankee Pollock had been reporting on the curfews faced in Quebec.
Can we ask you what happened over here?
Yankee Polak, 25 years old Rebel News reporter.
No? Well, I'm gonna ask you.
What are you?
I'm media. I see you guys putting someone in the back of the car. Are you proud of the job you're doing? You're ticketing members of the media? Is that like what you signed up for the police for? He called me a liar, basically. I have a note from the SPVM saying that I'm exempt, and he said it's not.
You get stopped all the time and get your papers checked.
Yeah, this is a nightly event for me. This is what's going on. You just witnessed us getting tickets, $6,000 worth of tickets to for filming, for being out and doing our job.
As if the curfew wasn't bad enough, almost every night, Yankee was out there alone to report on the seemingly targeted approach police had when it came to enforcing the curfew. As well, during our time in Montreal, our group of rebels was surrounded by Montreal police at our Airbnb. And let it be known, my first ever ticket from police was for being outside too late. But Quebec isn't the only place where we've seen this bureaucratic overreach. In fact, across the country on a weekly basis, protesters come out in force against the ever-changing health orders that bureaucrats and politicians have sought to impose. And in this video, I was able to highlight some of the hypocrisies that we've seen when it comes to how police deal with protesters.
It's like the king's demands or something.
Will you sign this today? If you're not signing this, I have to take you to a police station.
Can I talk to my lawyer?
Not right now. The ticket is for failing to comply with an order during a declared emergency.
As I was walking through the park, I had not even stopped.
Unless there is a crime being committed, you cannot ask for my personal information.
I'm serving you with this provincial offense. This is more important to the police to arrest a person for cleaning up a park than to maybe tell their sergeant, guys, we have a badge, a gun, a taser, and we're dealing with this stuff. Maybe go to your sergeant and say something to them, because you guys need to start speaking up.
In the world right now, this is like security.
Alright, sir, so I'm going to place you under arrest for obstruct police since you are refusing to identify.
That's right, along with holding a Canadian flag, eating a meal on the sidewalk, or holding a megaphone, cleaning up trash at a park while minding your own business was seen as reasonable grounds to arrest people. As you probably know, however, arresting protesters is just the beginning of some of the arrests that have been made, especially considering we've seen politicians and religious leaders also having to face this overreach from the state. Pastor Tobias Thyssen was no exception, and after defying church gathering limits and daring to have church outside, he soon became a focus point for local authorities.
I have been issued an arrest warrant in my name.
My personal belief is that the province is overreaching with this.
If my faith is not worth dying for, it's not worth living for. My ancestors in Russia went underground after they faced much worse persecution than what we face now. After leaders got arrested, leaders got killed, they went into hiding.
They'll have to learn. If you want to get a pastor, you have to get him at church.
That's right, a warrant was issued for a pastor in Manitoba, literally for sticking to his faith, as opposed to the former premier's faith.
I've come up with an 11th commandment, which is obey the public health orders. And I would encourage everyone to make sure they do that.
Now, a warrant is one thing to be said for, but what we're dealing with right now isn't in relation to pinpoint situations. It's these blanket health orders that have constantly been evolving over the past 2 years. They've come for all of us, and you see that with flying, with sporting events, and even sitting down at a restaurant, all of which now require bureaucratic approval. And this brings me to Without Papers Pizza, a restaurant local to Calgary which stood up in the face of these mandates and decided it was more important to accept all than it was to discriminate for bureaucrats who want the Canadian people to do their own dirty work for them.
He's serving people equally, and for that he's being punished.
These are the papers that my father was forced to carry during the Second World War. He couldn't be outside the camp without these papers. I absolutely refuse, as a Japanese Canadian, to show my papers.
It's really heartwarming to see that there's people that are standing up saying, no, this isn't right, and we're not going to take part in this.
What a heart of that man.
We still can push this great evil, and we can do it together. Rise up now or tomorrow, it's your skin. They came for my skin. Well, you're not the pastor, so you didn't care. They were my children they were after. They were not your children, so you didn't care. But today are your children. Today is your job.
Without papers, protests continue. However, now after the restaurant doors have been closed, it's turned into a weekly support group type event, meant to allow those being treated as lepers to have a place to meet like-minded individuals who may also be in need of support. And when it comes to standing up, there are many who already have, and many more who have come out against government overreach as the hypocrisies have grown by the day. Unfortunately, when I went to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg, I could not find anyone standing up for others.
This is the only museum in North America of human rights.
The fourth floor of this building is of very huge significance. It's exactly why we're here.
We have to be careful about equating a choice not to get vaccinated with these protected characteristics when looking at what can be considered discriminatory. An example would be a story of us versus them, the process of othering, which can be found on their website. When we highlight differences between groups of people to increase suspicion of them, to insult them, or to exclude them, we are going down a path known as othering. I sure felt pretty othered when I got excluded from the museum for not having the right colored QR code.
Right, again, the regulation is that only those who are vaccinated, because that gives a problem then.
Had the Canadian Museum for Human Rights independently from the state sought any medical expertise or advice on how to create a most ideal COVID-19 policy? No.
I guess I can't come in. No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry, you wouldn't be.
If it wasn't bad enough that they now willingly discriminate, the fact that inside this museum is where examples of those who stand up against depression reside make things that much worse. I appreciate you tuning in to hear my top 5 highlights of the year. It's been a crazy year at that. Who knows what's going to happen next year, but we're going to be sure to cover the story wherever it may lead. For Rebel News, I'm Sidney Vizard. As you guys know, we have multiple civil liberties projects set up, and you can donate to those through our portals at rebelnews.com. One of those portals would be fightvaccinepassports.com. I know I've been affected by the vaccine mandates, and if you have as well, consider going to fightvaccinepassports.com. You can donate to the legal defense for someone taking on the vaccine mandates, and if they win, that could set a precedence for the rest of the country. That means you and me as well. So if you want to do that, go to fightvaccinepassports.com, and remember, donations qualify you for a charitable tax receipt.